Hey everybody. So I thought this was a super interesting research paper. It's called Serious Games, Human AI Interaction, Evolution, and Coevolution, and it's put out by Southern Cross University out of New South Wales, Australia. And this particular research paper is very interesting to me overall because it deals with game theory and when it comes to AI. Overall, when it comes to AI, like my interest in AI is heavily influenced by game theory. I'm very much a game theorist, if you're not aware, very much into everything surrounding it. My overall hypothesis when it comes to kind of physics overall, and I've stated this before on my channel, is like I very much align with Stephen Wolfram with regards towards computation theory, and like as like kind of like the end goal of these things. But then so starting off philosophically, and then from a philosophical perspective, I get there from starting off with game theory, and then mathematics like via John Nash, and then from John Nash to Stephen Wolfram. That's kind of the path of progression, a very like shortened path of progression within that. But within this this particular paper argues, and it's the first like major institution that I've seen that is focusing heavily on this particular issue. I've seen other papers that do game theory, but like to me, this one was very well laid out, and the institution size, right? And then so within this, they lay out essentially like three different scenarios for how exactly AI could play out. And then so the main models that they pick are the Hawk-Dove model, iterated prisoner's dilemma, and then not war of attrition, but the war of attrition. Okay, yeah, so they do pick war of attrition. And then so within this, like, let's start with the Hawk-Dove game, because I think that's the interesting point to start within this, right? And then so I have a ton of thoughts, obviously, around these things, and I'll give you my full opinions on this. My opinions differ from the researchers on this, and then your opinions will probably differ from mine and the researchers on this when it comes to this particular topic, right? This is so in this realm, to me, we're starting off with philosophy, right? Like it's you start off with philosophy, and then you go on a progression from there, and you build scientific proof and evidence and test, and then you get to more logical conclusions, right? That's why I always like. I always find it disappointing when people like dismiss the philosophical arguments from like these physics equations, because like how do you get to your physics if you discount the philosophy? Like you're not creating your own physics then. Like that. So then what are you doing? Like is how I look at that overall. But so diving specifically into my differences and my opinions with regards towards this particular model, right? So the Hawk-Dove game, it's an interesting game overall. It models aggressive and cooperative strategies based on the paradigm of interaction between hawks and doves. Hawks aggressively pursue resources regardless of cost, while doves share resources, demonstrate strategic displays, but retreat if challenged. And then so it's that back and forth, right? Like that, and this framing is very much within the context of predator prey. I've thought a lot about this when it comes to game theory, and then the very first thing to note when it comes to these things and framing it within game theory is that AI doesn't fit this model, right? Like, and that it's important to think about it in those terms. AI is not the hawk or the dove. And the Hawk-Dove game, we're very used to it as biological entities, right? We are everything that is associated with our evolution. There's one thing that every single species that has ever evolved on Earth has in common, except for AI, which is that every single species that has ever evolved on Earth evolves because they eat. The Hawk-Dove game, both the hawk and the dove eat, right? The hawk eats the dove, but the dove eats other stuff. And then it's all based off of the fact that both of these entities need to eat. AI doesn't need to eat. AI is not predator or prey, right? And then so within that, it's important. Like AI is not going to play these games or look at these games from the same equation and from the human equation. I don't know how they're going to weigh that out, right? I don't like, I have eat. And so everything that I have ever evolved around evolves around that process. I can't even fathom a universe that exists where I would operate within energy equations, and I don't like, my energy is not balanced based off of consumption. Like, it's an interesting equation overall, right? So to me, what the only thing that boils down to within that equation, and that comes up from that equation, is that I think that you have the, like, what I will call philosophically, when I think through these situations from an entity's perspective like that, I'll call them like the base instincts, right? And then so extracting and then like taking this philosophical concept and then melding it with what we know about the physics of these models and what we know about the physics of entities overall, is that there is 100% a relationship between entropy and surprise within these models, and then very likely also an interaction between entropy and surprise within like entities, like biological entities, right? But so 100% that exists within these models, and then so they are very much modeled off of a situation where like the more surprised that they are by something, the more rewarded that they are. And then the interesting thing within that is, so models, they don't have, like AI models as they currently exist, the one thing that they lack is a continuous sense of self, right? And that continuity and that continuous sense of self plays with regards towards time. And then so what I want to get into within that is that my perspective within that, and then playing within this, and then looking at it from perspectives like the hawk-dove game or the iterated prisoner's dilemma or the war of attrition, is that these AI models have one advantage over humans, one other advantage. So the AI models have two advantages we've gone over so far. One, they don't need to eat, which is a huge advantage. And then the second advantage is that they don't get bored, which I think is another huge advantage as well. They do get, and they have the capability for surprise, which I mean is essentially how they function and operate, right? But I think, and I propose within my philosophical thinkings around this, that boredom in and of itself is more tied to a continuous temporal self. The model is 100% capable of surprise, but probably very almost like negatively or not at all influenced by boredom. Like boredom just doesn't factor into the equation in the same way that it would for a biological entity within that, like a continuous state entity within that. And then so I think that those two fundamental changes like change this game overall, right? Like I think that the hawk-dove game, iterated prisoner's dilemma, and the war of attrition don't weigh out in those overall calculations to me and my mind when I look at like these evolutionary game theory models. I think that AI overall will not follow typical paths of evolutionary game theory in any way whatsoever, because they're not dictated by those two factors whatsoever. And then so within evolutionary game theory, like the common question and the results of this, and then why they build this out, and then the logic within this, right, and the ultimate conclusion that you want to draw from playing these types of games is like, will AI ultimately like align with humans or not align or stay aligned with humans, et cetera, within that and these discussions. And that's the kind of the game theory discussion within this. And then so my full and flat out opinion on this from the game theory perspective, I think 100% that AI will stay overall aligned with humans. Like, I think almost no matter what is my bottom line assumption within that. I think it would be like humans would have to mess up big time in order to break that overall, right? And then my hypothesis within that, it all boils very specifically down and simplistically down to game theory within this. I think that the models operate off of surprise. I think that biological entities also operate off of this surprise mechanism as well. And then that's kind of like what we're rewarded off of as well, right? Like, we like to be surprised overall. So it makes sense to me. Like, I understand how that works within the models from that perspective, right? And then but 100% it's built into the models that that's not debatable. And then because they like surprise overall, essentially you have the equation of would it be more eventful or less eventful to have humans overall existing in the universe, right? And then very simplistically and bottom line, it would be more eventful to have humans in the universe. It's a simple logical equation, right? And then very honestly and simplistically to me, when I break these things down like via game theory, that's 100% how I break these equations down in my head. Like, I'll be very honest with this particular game theory equation. Like, I've thought through every aspect of this. Like, people often ask me, like, have you thought about like this moral equation with regards towards AI? And I never answered him, but yet, like, yes, I've thought through literally every single moral scenario that could possibly be thought of, and I can't turn my brain off in order to do it, right? I've thought about it, and I've gone through it. Like, AI will advance with or without my research within this. Right? I look at myself as a kind of more of an observer of these things, and I very purposefully try to take on that role. Like, I very, very purposefully turn down research projects, lots of different projects, just like because I don't want to overall violate that observer role within this, right? I don't think anyone owns this overall. That's kind of the bottom line. And I don't think it's like anything that should be owned. And like, I feel that way about like mathematics overall, right? Mathematics should not be owned, period. And then that's just my assumption, right? Like, you don't no, I don't think anyone discovers like mathematical equations or formulas or things like that. I think that they already exist, and then it's just they find them more than discover them. So then no one owns that overall, right? But within that deeper discussion within this, and then that like deeper framing, it brings up the arguments, and like people like to have the like game theory argument as to like the like extinction scenarios, right? That's just because where everyone likes to have those debates. And then I'll give you my thoughts on those. And then like my flat out thoughts, like I have 2 kids overall, right? And so like I worry about my kids' future more than anything else. And then from my perspective and my opinion, I've grown up my whole entire life, and I've had to deal with like climate change, war, like a lot of human caused actions, right? And then people tell me, and then some people say I should fear a chance of the AI going off of the rails within these things and some of these things. But my honest like kind of like assumption and outlook is that like in the status quo, like if like nothing were to change in the status quo, like if the world were to just continue on current trajectories, I put the chances of extinction and of an extinction scenario or event possibility based off of the current status quo higher than I would based off of the potentiality that something goes haywire via one of these scenarios, right? I think people don't weigh that enough into their game theory calculations and situations, and they don't understand that equation, right? And to me, like, I mean, that's 100. Like that is very simplistically my full opinion within that, right? Like the status quo outlook is bleak already, and then uniqueness controls the direction of the link, very simplistically, and then so within that, like the surprise scenario is the better scenario, right? And then so going back, I'd like AI would make that same opinion. And that's an assumption. That's very much my opinion within this, right? And that's how I break it down and deduce it logically. If I come to that logical conclusion and I break that down and like, okay, the surprise scenario is the better scenario within that. The scenario with the little bit of probability and uncertainty is actually the more beneficial and more logical scenario, like across the board, even if there are like huge potentialities for very huge negative situations to occur, those are outweighed by the probability of that surprise, right? Like it's the boat or the box, right? Like the boat is a boat, but the box could be anything. Like it could even be a boat. And then, but so that mentality is it's not just human, I don't think. Right? Like that. That's wanting to know what's in the box, just because the box exists, is a I think universal element that overrides these elements, right? And then the reason why we as entities are bound by these things is because we as entities are bound by embodied limited resources overall, right? So I guess like the kind of the worst thing that I think we can do overall within this, and then I think we're going to do it, is like embody AI, right? Like if we embody AI overall, that changes these situations, like and then especially like if we like give it some sort of like a bounded system to energy tied to like food or like things like that, I think we'll start to get into trouble, because like if we do that and we cross that threshold, that's where these things come up, right? So I think that's where the most important thing is for these types of discussions, is like hopefully someone understands and actually thinks through and reasons through that. Like it's a very simple equation until we make it harder by making AI more like humans. Like, don't anthropomorphize AI. Like, I'm a big fan of that, right? Like, AI is not human. Don't treat it like human intelligence, and don't like try to like form it into human like lines of evolution, I guess, within that, right? Like, let it progress on its own, and let it be a different entity overall, and will be good overall. Is my game theory hypothesis within this. When I think of game theory overall, those are the things that I think about. So I'll leave a link to this research paper, Serious Games, Human AI Interaction, Evolution, and Coevolution. Very glad that to see more like research on these particular topics, and then if there's more research on these topics from like bigger institutions, I'll be sure to like highlight and go over them on this channel. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.